Are you an established small business owner or aspiring entrepreneur? Would you like professional advice to help your business grow and succeed? Well, look no further. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is the territory's #1 resource to move your business forward. Enjoy no-cost advising, low-cost training, and technical assistance from experts in both the public and private sectors. The VI SBDC is nationally accredited and sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration. Visit us at our locations on St. Thomas, St. John, or St. Croix, and follow us on social media at VI SBDC. For easy access to all our training and networking events, be sure to join our newsletter and download the VI SBDC app. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, here to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Tuesdays with the SBA. Today's session speaks to securing an SBA loan for your business and how to get approved. This session focuses on the SBA Guarantee Program and how lenders use it to make loans. Participants will become familiar with the 5 C's of lending and get acquainted with resources to help you find lenders and put together an effective application. Allow me to introduce today's lead presenter as he shares his screen so we can see his PowerPoint. SBA Senior Area Manager for the USVI out of the SBA PR and USVI District Office, Mr. Wayne Huddleston. Here's a friendly reminder to put your questions in the chat and they will be addressed by Mr. Huddleston either directly in the chat or later during the question and answer segment. A copy of this presentation will be attached to an email offering our post-survey after this training is completed. We encourage you to take a few minutes and fill out the survey that lets us know how we're doing. So Wayne, without further ado, the floor is yours.
All right, good morning. Thank you very much, Sharika. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. As Sharika said, I'm going to be covering the SBA loans, but I'm also going to have a larger emphasis on lending in general, with the idea that by the end of this, you'll have a better idea of how to qualify for an SBA loan and what lenders are going to be looking for when they talk to you. So during this presentation, I'm going to cover these 5 areas. I'm going to talk in the beginning about the different sources of capital. Lending is just one of those sources. And so I want to make sure I just have a brief discussion about all the sources of capital for your business, especially if you are a startup. I'm going to focus on the 5 C's of credit, which are what all lenders use as a framework for determining whether or not they can provide a loan, whether it's an SBA loan or not. I'm going to talk about government guaranteed lending, specifically focusing on SBA and our role in the lending process and how we provide that guarantee to lenders and how it can help you. Then I'm going to talk about technical assistance available to help you apply for loans or really do anything in your business. And then we'll leave time at the end to answer any questions you may have about lending, about financing your business, or any other thing related to SBA. I'd be happy to answer at that time. So I'm trying to advance the slide now. Here we go. Okay. For some reason, my thing is skipping around. All right, I'm going to play a short video right now.
Most young companies need money, which may or may not come as a big surprise, but they do. The #1 source they get money from is from their own savings, whether it's a few $100s or even thousands of dollars. That's what we tend to tap first. And a lot of companies don't get money from any other place. They get money from their own savings. And then after that, they're lucky enough to be cash flow positive. They're profitable. So we talk a lot as if all companies require all sorts of external capital. And the reality is that more than half of young companies get all their funding from a combination of founder savings and then cash flow from the business. And we're out of here. Next up on the list is another one that catches, I think, people by surprise, and that's credit cards. Almost every young company you can think of, to one degree or another, was funded on credit cards. And it is the single largest source of capital for young companies after founder savings. And then the next place where they tend to get money is from friends and family. After I've tapped out my credit card and I've used up all my savings, I turn to people I know and say, hey, will you help me? And that's the third biggest source of capital. And then the next place is banks. And the banks are a totally weird situation because with banks, they get a lot of attention, but they actually fund very, very few young companies. But it's not their fault. You have to think about the way bank lending works and how shareholders want banks to lend. They want them to lend money against secured assets. And young companies don't have any security. They have nothing to secure it against. And the joke in the industry is you can get all the bank funding you want as a startup as long as you don't need it. And then the last piece is venture capitalists. They get the lion's share of the attention, which in some ways is warranted. You know, your Googles and Apples and FedExes and many others all have venture capital money inside of them. But the reality is, and this is from Kaufman research, less than 20% of the fastest growing companies in the United States took any venture money. And that's not because the VCs wouldn't give it to them. It's because they didn't want it or didn't need it, because they had all those other sources. I don't need money, and I certainly don't need money on these terms. Because, you know, venture capitalists, unlike banks, they don't lend against secured assets. They give you money in exchange for shares. So they take some of your company away. So my answer is if you don't need it, definitely don't get it. There's no question the venture industry has become staid. The irony is it's intended to fund disruption, and yet it's an industry that had become complacent. And interestingly, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen the emergence of other mechanisms for funding, like AngelList, like these kinds of peer-to-peer funding sources, as people increasingly provide capital in smaller amounts, but more people doing it directly. Having said all of that, though, venture capitalists are hugely important for those young companies that don't have access to bank money, but are growth companies. They have the prospect of being a $5 million or a $10 million company in a couple of years, and they need that growth capital to get there quickly. So it's a race. And the way you play the race is by getting money from people like venture capitalists who give you the money so you can compete with other people who are racing as fast as you are. If you can run a company off cash flow and some combination of credit card, your own savings, and friends and family, you know, Bob's your uncle, run, you know, keep all the equity, because, you know, there's no better thing than being in full control of your own destiny.
All right, I want to show that video just because it's a little bit older, but it does give a good overview of the sources of capital in a very short time. There are a lot of sources. A lot of people believe when they are thinking about starting a business or when their business is young and they need some financing to help it grow a little bit more. A lot of times people first think of banks, that's the first place to go to get a loan to either start or grow your business. But in reality, that's only just one piece of many other sources of capital. And in reality, it's really a smaller piece of where most people get their funds. If you're looking just at startups, which are businesses that are just starting up and have been in business maybe a year or less, research has shown that the vast majority of funding for those comes from that personal savings of that founder, or credit cards, as they discussed in the video earlier, or family and friends that just provide money to help get that going. A very small amount actually comes from bank financing. According to this research, it was 1% of startups actually get their funding from bank financing. Most of it comes from family, friends, yourself, or maybe even some other funding sources from other friends or individuals and angel investors. But very little comes from banks. Now, that's not to say you can't get it from banks, and that's what we're going to be talking about in our presentation. But I want to make sure we had an understanding of where a lot of funds come from, because I don't want people to go to a bank and get turned down and get dispirited and think they cannot continue on because they did not get the funding from a bank. There's so many other avenues out there. So many businesses bootstrapped their way, which is a way of just trying to find creative ways to get funding, whether it's starting your business and finding ways to use that initial revenue to leverage in some other ways, or cost cutting, or however. But there's a lot of other ways outside of lending. But today I'm going to talk about lending. And what I want to focus on first are what we call the 5 C's of lending. The 5 C's are a framework that every lender uses when they are evaluating a loan. Now, they all look at these 5 C's a little bit differently, but they all look at them. And they all these 5 C's play an important part in determining whether or not you can get a loan with a particular lender. So I'm going to talk about each one in just a little bit more in depth so you have a good understanding of what they are. The first one is capacity, and that is simply your capacity or your ability to repay your debt. It matters to a business or a lender because a business needs to show that it can generate sufficient cash flow to repay its loan. They don't want to give a loan and then your business can't really pay it back. Not just pay back the loan, but also operate effectively and efficiently, still paying you a salary and other things, and having enough money income to repay that loan over time. They're not grants, they're not investments. Banks expect to be repaid back. Now, your capacity to repay is assessed in a number of different ways. One, most simply, is just your credit score. A lot of people ask, what's the credit score that is needed? Every lender is different, and then every situation for that lender is different. So they typically won't give you an exact score. In fact, they can't give you an exact score to say, oh, if you have this score, then you can get approved. It varies. You are going to want to be in the mid 700s to feel a little bit more sure that you can meet that benchmark or that assessment for a lender. If you're not over 700, it makes it a lot harder. Once you drop below 650, you can expect that that is going to be a hard stop for you being able to get a loan from a lender. So if your credit is below that area, you want to make sure you work hard to make the changes or improvements to your score that you need to make to get it back in a range where a lender can reasonably get to a yes in their loan. Another important factor, and really this is the number one reason why a lot of lenders say they are unable to get to a yes on a loan, and that is financial statements. You want to make sure that you have sufficient financial statements that show your business is generating profit, enough profit to pay back a loan. Now, a lot of times, if your business has not been around for 3 or more years, many lenders will say, well, we are not interested in funding a startup. Come back and see us after you have 3 years of operation so we can properly evaluate your financial statements. Now, some lenders will consider providing a loan if you have not been in business that long, but it sure makes it a lot easier if you can start in business and not rely on a lender to try to start your business, but you showed you can start it, you put in the time, energy, investment of your own, and then you have 3 years of financial statements to show that you're growing and you have the ability to repay that debt. So that's the first C, capacity, and that's an important one. Well, they're all going to be important for a lender, but that's the first one. The second one is capital, and that is simply how much money you are putting in yourself. No lender is going to want to 100% finance your business and assume all the risk for your business. They're going to want to see that you have some skin in the game and that you are putting in money yourself. Now, again, it varies depending on how much they're going to want to see. They typically want to see 50% or more. But if you can put in at least 20% towards your business to show, if you need $100,000 to buy a piece of equipment and do some other things to get going, if you can show that you've already put in $20,000 of yourself, or you've reserved that amount sitting there to say, I'll put that down in this loan, then that will help. Sometimes you can get a loan for as little as 10%, but you really want to have a minimum of 20% to show that you can put in for that, to show that you have some skin in the game for the lender, and you're not asking them to fund it all themselves. Another source is more of a backup plan for a lender, and that is collateral. This is to cover the loan in case you get the funds and the business just doesn't work out, or you walk away, or something happens and they need a way to get their loan back or their assets back. So they're going to ask you to put up collateral. Typically, this is going to be hard assets such as land or a building, or perhaps some durable, easily sellable equipment. It's very difficult to put up inventory for collateral because lenders are not interested in being in your type of business. If, God forbid, the loan does go bad and they have to secure the collateral to sell to pay back the loan, they're going to want to be able to secure something that's very easy for them to sell. So land, buildings, and durable equipment is a little bit easier for them to do, but you want to consider before you even talk to a lender what you can offer as collateral for your loan. And then the fourth C is conditions. And this is just generally what is the marketplace like, especially for your industry and your business. This is most effectively answered with a business plan. A lender is going to want to see that you have done a very thorough and realistic assessment of your business, of your niche, of your market, how that works, how it's different. Perhaps show how, if you're entering a field where there's going to be competitors, why your business is going to be different and what gives you a competitive advantage over others, how you're going to be successful in the marketplace. You're going to want to see projections and other things. But they want to make sure you deeply understand the risks and are prepared to mitigate against them if they come up while you're in business, especially during the terms and period that you need to be repaying back that loan. And then the final C is character. And this is a little bit different than the others, but still very important. Now, on the other C's, collateral, you can come up with cash, you can save and come up with credit, you can improve your score and the conditions in the marketplace. You can put that together with a business plan. Character is really more about you and your trustworthiness and credibility and integrity. If you don't have a good level of trustworthiness or integrity and you've displayed that to a lender already, it's very difficult to overcome. You can't just take that back and go, oh, I'll work on that. I'm going to work on my character and come back. Your character is assessed with every interaction you have with the lender. So if you are scheduling an appointment, you want to make sure you show up on time for that appointment. If you can't make it, or if you can't show up on time, you want to make sure you contact them ahead of time and not be a no-show. Anytime you say you're going to provide your lender a document, you want to make sure you provide it on time and thoroughly. And they're also going to look at your reputation and community. You know, we're a very small community here in the Virgin Islands, so a lot of people know each other. So you want to make sure that you have a good reputation, and that lender knows that you're going to be a trustworthy source and be able to pay that back. I have seen loans in the past where people have great credit, great collateral, a really good business plan, a really good idea, and because they displayed less than favorable character, they were unable to get the loan. On the flip side, I've seen businesses where they struggled to meet some of the other 5 C's. Perhaps they didn't have enough collateral. I've seen one that had a bankruptcy in the past. But because during their continual interactions with the lender, they were able to build up a good level of trust and demonstrate a good integrity with that lender to the point that they were able to provide a line of credit and help that business succeed. So it's kind of the X factor in your loan and your loan request. And so you want to make sure that you have thought that through and demonstrated to your lender in every interaction that you are a trustworthy individual that will repay your debts. One of the things that, like I mentioned before, that is the number one source of problem that lenders say they have in trying to approve a loan is insufficient financial statements. What I highly recommend is that you take advantage of resource partners such as the SBDC here. They can help you develop your business plan. They can help you think through your expense sheets and financial statements and look at those to make sure they are of the quality of financial statements that a lender is going to look at. And it looks simple. They can clearly see whether you're profitable or not. And you want to make sure you have good financial projections that are realistic and make sense. A SBDC can help with all that. I am, however, going to touch upon those just a little bit more because that is so important for lenders to have good financial statements. So I want to make sure you understand on just a very basic level what they're looking for. They're going to want to see a balance sheet, which is just a snapshot of your assets and claims against those assets. It shows what you own, what you owe, and how it's financed. An income statement, which shows revenues and expenses and provides a bottom line of profitability over a specified period. And a cash flow statement, which shows the uses of your cash as well as the change in your cash over a specified period. So I'm going to give you simple examples of what those look like. A balance sheet will look like this. It shows the assets you have on hand, cash, inventory, other accounts receivable you may have. And if you have any other long-term assets, such as a building or land, you want to put that there. And then you want to put any claims on those assets. So if you already have another loan or something else or accounts payable, you're going to have to put those there to show exactly what you have. Then a simple income statement shows your sales over a specified period, what the cost of goods sold during that period were, and what your profit is. And then what other expenses do you have during that period, whether it's your taxes or things from operations and all that. They want to show your net income. Your net income is different from your gross income. Your gross income is totally what you have, what you brought in. And then your net income is what you have as profit after all your expenses have been paid. And then finally, your simple cash flow statement. If you have equipment, there may be depreciation on those assets that show that that asset is going to slowly depreciate in value over time. They want to see that. They want to see what your cash flow is from operating activities. If you had any sales of equipment, or if you have people invest in your business and provide cash to your business, you want to make sure that you show that during that time so that they have a realistic assessment of what your business looks like and how much cash has been coming in and going out. All right, so I've talked a little bit about sources of capital and loans in particular and how to qualify for a loan and what a lender is going to be looking for. I'm not going to be talking about government guarantees, and specifically SBA's guarantee program. Now, our guarantee program is very similar to USDA's program. We are simply leveraging the good credit rating of the federal government to provide a guarantee to lenders to say, if you will provide a loan under these reasonable terms that we have outlined to these borrowers, we will assume risk in your loan anywhere from 50% up to 90%, depending on the type of loan that is. We don't assume 100% of the risk in the loan, except for a very extreme, unusual circumstance like when it was COVID. But usually we're just taking 50 to 90% of the loan and making sure the lender still does maintain some risk in the loan so that they can do reasonable underwriting in that loan. You can connect to lenders from not only here in the territory, but also across the country using a tool on our website called SBA Lender Match. You simply go in, add a few basic, a little bit of basic information about your business, how big your business is, what it is, where it's located, how much money you need, how much money the business makes, those types of things. You enter that in and then you hit send, and that is automatically sent out to lenders all across the country who have agreed to review and assess loans here in the Virgin Islands. If a lender decides that they are interested in what you have said to talk further, then they will reach out to you and email you. That Lender Match tool, that's all it simply does. It just connects you to lenders. It doesn't necessarily provide you a loan through that tool or anything. It just connects you to lenders who may be interested. Also, all of the 5 largest lenders here in a territory do have the ability to provide SBA loans. Merchants, Bank of St. Croix, First Bank, Bank of Popular, and Oriental are all SBA lenders. Their activity and use of that loan varies from time to time, but they have all at one point been active SBA lenders, and several of them are very active now. So what is a government guaranteed loan? And that's simply, as I said, it's just the government taking on the risk of that loan. So the benefit for the bank is that it's less risky for them because we're guaranteeing a percentage of the loan. Again, we're not taking all the risk, but we're taking a significant amount. we typically cannot overcome every situation for a lender. For instance, I mentioned the 5 C's earlier. If you are walking in to talk to a lender and you are deficient in 2 or 3 or more of those C's, so let's say you're a startup, so you wouldn't have the financial statements to show. Perhaps you also don't have enough collateral to secure a loan. That starts to make it so that no matter what, a lender is not going to be able to provide you a loan, even with our guarantee. But if you come into a lender and you have maybe 1 C in that you're deficient in, perhaps you have a good credit, you're not a startup, you have some financial statements, but maybe you're just a little bit short in collateral. Or maybe you have the collateral and you have everything else, but you're a startup, so you don't have a lot of financial statements. If you have just one of those C's a little bit deficient, that's where a lender can use our government guarantee to overcome that issue that would otherwise be an obstacle to approval. And then they can provide you a loan at reasonable terms and reasonable rates. Now, rates across the board everywhere are high right now because banks as well as SBA loans are tied to the federal funds rate that is put out by the Fed, which is at I think a 22 or 23-year high at the moment. However, hopefully those will come down, but still, it's still the best normal conventional loan rate that you can get out there. It can be used for all sorts of things. There's not a lot of restrictions on these. If you're trying to get an SBA loan, the few restrictions we have are related to businesses that are for investment purposes or are speculative in nature or engage in activities of what we call a purulent nature. So, for instance, if you are using the funds to start a strip club or a gambling business or something like that, then you cannot use a government guarantee because you're essentially using the public's funds to support that guarantee. But the vast majority of purposes and reasons for a business to use a loan are eligible in an SBA guarantee. And I'd like to make a point. You do not have to go through the process of trying to determine how to use the SBA guarantee, which SBA guaranteed loan program makes the most sense, and how to go through that process. A lender can determine that process for you. What is important for you is to have a general knowledge that there is an SBA guarantee out there. We have loan programs. You can learn a little bit more about them online as well. And when you're talking to a lender, just make sure that they know you're aware as well and ask them if they're struggling to get to a yes on a loan. Ask them, can we use an SBA guarantee? Will that help us get to a yes and help overcome this maybe deficiency that the lender has identified in your loan package? As I mentioned before, you want to make sure you take advantage of SBA's resource partners that can help you. We have 3 that are active in the territory now. SBDC is the largest and most active resource partner here in the territory, has paid full-time staff that are active on St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. They can help you in all sorts of ways for your business, whether you're a startup or whether you're a business that has been in business for 30 years or more and trying to do something more complex. They can help you with that. There's also SCORE, which is a coaching and mentorship organization. There are a couple of mentors here in the territory, but the real advantage of that organization is that it is connected to SCORE in Florida, which has a much larger cadre of experts and mentors up there. So if you are interested in speaking with someone about how to grow your business, you can get connected with SCORE. Perhaps they can connect you with someone in Florida who is very knowledgeable about your industry and not competing with you in any way, but can provide you a lot of advice and help to help you avoid some pitfalls as you grow. SCORE also has a lot of great templates. They offer workshops, and they also have a lot of great templates on their site. So if you need some basic template to develop your business plan or to put together your financial statements, there's a lot of great templates there that are available free of charge on SCORE's site. There's also the Veteran Business Opportunity Center. It does not have a physical location or staff here in the territory. However, Region 2 VBOC, as we call it, does serve this area, and they will frequently send down representatives to meet with veteran business owners and provide workshops. The services they provide are very similar to the SBDC, but just focused on veterans businesses specifically. As I mentioned before, SBDC can do a lot of things. It can help you assess the health or feasibility of your business, guide you in a business plan, review your financial statements, help you prepare a loan application. They're not going to do these things for you. They're not going to write your business plan. They're not going to prepare your financial statements for you, but they can sit down with you and walk you through that process, which really is what you want to do. No lender is going to want to give you a loan if you hadn't really put together your plan anyway, and you hadn't really put together your financial statements. You're going to need to be deeply involved in that. But an SBDC advisor can give you an objective feedback that you otherwise may not be getting from family and friends to help let you know, hey, is this actually feasible? Does this make sense to a lender? Should I pursue this avenue or should I go a different direction? You should definitely take advantage of their resources. Been with SBA for many years. I've had businesses of my own in the past. If I was starting a new business or I was growing a business right now, even I would reach out to the SBDC and just get that objective feedback about what I'm doing as I go forward. It's a really great resource for you. Also, you don't have to wait for presentations such as these to get information about SBA, our programs, what we offer, and how we can help. You can sign up for regular newsletters from our agency. You can follow us on Twitter. You can always reach out to me. I'm full-time located here in the territory. I'm very familiar with the challenges unique to our territory and how the SBA programs are implemented here. So you can always email me. Be happy to help or direct you in the right direction for assistance. And then finally, on our website, we have what's called a Learning Center dashboard, which provides a lot of pre-recorded assistance and help for your business, whether you are just starting up or you're seeking financing or you're trying to market your business a little bit better or you're trying to get into government contracting. We have a lot of great resources and tools on that site to help you in that process. All right, so that is it for my presentation. What I would like to do now is just open it up to any questions you have about things I discussed now or anything related to SBA. I'd be happy to answer them for you at this time.
Okay, Wayne, we have two questions. Is there an annual revenue that is expected from a company to request an SBA loan?
No, you can have revenues of any size. It's just the amount of revenues that someone has will dictate the amount of loan that you can qualify for. So if you have annual revenues of $30,000 to $50,000 and you're seeking a $100,000 loan, that would be difficult. But there is no minimum in the amount of revenue that you need to have.
Okay, thank you for that. Here's another question. If the loan is for a commercial building, can that be the collateral or it has to be another building like my house?
Nope, it can be and really should be the building that you're seeking financing for. So if you're trying to get a commercial building, that's probably the first collateral that you should offer up and the lender is going to be seeking as collateral for that loan.
So that's basically it for questions right now.
All right, I could wait a couple minutes. Is there any more questions? And if not, everybody can go back to their day.
Okay, so while we're waiting, I just want everyone to know that the VI SBDC has so much more in store for the USVI small business community. You can visit our website at www.sbdc.org. Download the VI SBDC app on your mobile device from the appropriate app store. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Business, and subscribe to the VI SBDC YouTube channel for new uploads of our on-demand webinars. We have a few trainings that are available on demand from our financial literacy series. And we want persons to know that coming up, we have VI Apex. They're going to be presenting on WSV certifications and questions to ask, as well as responding to RFPs, RFIs, and RFQs. And we also have our SBA District Office back with Asset for Women Entrepreneurs. So I don't see any more questions at this time, Wayne. So I guess you did an exceptional job. So on behalf of the entire VI SBDC network, we thank you for collaborating with us. And everyone, we wish you a productive day.